Major funding for our Taste of Louisiana with John Folse and Company is made possible in part by Zatarain's authentic New Orleans-style dinner mixes. Zatarain's, a good way to jazz up dinner and a real New Orleans original since 1889.
Hello, I'm Chef John Folse. Food is so much more than nutrition here in the South. Every weekend on Louisiana's back roads and bayous, our festivals celebrate the food, music, and cultures that make us unique. Why not join me as we visit the fairs and festivals of our state and cook up another great taste of Louisiana? St. Martinville is located on the Bayou Teche and is considered the heart of Cajun country. We're headed here today to experience the spicy fun of the Pepper Festival. Downtown St. Martinville is a true look into Louisiana's colorful and cultural past. Most of the buildings here date back to the mid-19th century. In the center of the town square is one of the oldest and most historic churches in America, St. Martin de Tours Catholic Church. The building not only dates back to the 1700s, but is made more famous because it's the site of the grave of the heroine of Cajun country, Longfellow's Evangeline. Across the square is the magnificent Evangeline Oak, which stands on the bayou's banks and is the focal point of the Pepper Festival. This celebration takes place each October and is hosted by the Kiwanis Club of St. Martinville. This festival is the ideal forum for the manufacturers of pepper-related products to showcase their goods, and for the public to enjoy some of the finest foods and crafts in all of South Louisiana. As you can see, most items displayed here pay tribute to the peppers in one way or another. But don't be alarmed, not all dishes featured here are fiery hot. Peppers of every imaginable type are seen, including the mild, sweet bell pepper. Here, members of the Kiwanis Club serve up a portion of jambalaya topped with a dash or two of spicy sauce. Many people in this region consider jambalaya just another rice dish unless it's heated with this nice spicy blend. The festival is indeed a family event. While walking along the midway, you will enjoy the sight of pepper-related crafts in every shape and size, including t-shirts, earrings, and necklaces. There's woodwork available, including some of these, well, let me say, interesting door ornaments. But not everything here is painted red. Over at a booth across the street is a wood carver busy at his work. And of course, everything he's carving here today is available for sale. Just take some home with you. And as you enjoy the cool, breezy fall weather at this festival, your children might wish to just walk up and play one of these street games, once again reflecting the mood of the Pepper Festival. And if all of this spicy food excites you, well, just jump on in. There's dancing in the street. Well, the highlight of this weekend in Cajun country is the pepper eating contest. Pepper Queen Tiffany Melanson of Crowley had the cruel job of delivering the peppers to each contestant. Every competitor has their own method of making it through this ordeal. The rules of the contest are quite simple. Every entry is given a plate of 15 to 20 peppers, including habaneros, the hottest of them all, cayenne, jalapenos, and of course many others. The crowd cheers on their favorite contestant while the peppers are consumed plate after fiery plate. This year's winner was the reigning champ, Gerald Burke of Lafayette, who ate 12 whole plates. That's over 200 hot, fiery peppers. Wow, I wonder who took Gerald home that night. Well, if you like things spicy or you just like to witness other people who do, come on down to Cajun Town and spice up your life at the Pepper Festival. I can think of no state with a greater fascination for peppers than Louisiana. And you know, the greatest misconception is that everybody thinks we love our food super hot and spicy. And that's not true at all. We like our food with a great flavor that is a good marriage of onion, celery, bell pepper, and of course right at the end, seasoned with just enough pepper to give you that little great little tingle on the back of the palate after about the third or fourth bite of food. If you taste pepper on the lips or right on the front of the mouth, it's too doggone hot for the normal Louisianian. Now, there's reasons that we love pepper and spice and the taste of pepper and pepper sauces in Louisiana, and we're going to talk about that just a little bit with my guest who's going to come into the kitchen a little later, Red Ortego. And Red is from Lafayette, Louisiana, and he tinkers with a lot of different peppers, and of course, I consider him my mentor. He brings me a lot of the different flavors, and we talk about peppers, so we're going to share some of the thoughts of the flavor of the different peppers with you in just a minute. But I want you to look at this cutting board here, because on the board I have a basket full of the peppers that a lot of you may recognize. Of course, right here is the poblano pepper. This is ancho. It's smoked now. It's dried. A lot of Mexican dishes made with this particular pepper. This here is the cayenne pepper of Louisiana, dried red. We'll grind this up and make some pepper sauce with it, or of course we'll make dried pepper. This is the Scotch bonnet, a very hot pepper, but not as hot as the little cousin right here, the habanero. Most people know this one is the hottest pepper in the world. In fact, about 1 to 300,000 Scoville units, which is the hottest pepper in the world, this little rascal right here. And then we have the Tabasco peppers. This one right here, you see the different colors. This is what most of the hot sauces, or many of the hot sauces, are made with. Then, of course, the sweeter wax peppers and the nice colorful bell peppers. I have a big basket of them right here on the front of my counter. All these different peppers, most of them, in fact, from North and South America. You know, when Columbus took off to discover the New World, or the new route to the Indies, he was looking for two things: a short route, and he was looking for gold. But when he didn't find a lot of gold, the thing that was most on his mind was pepper, black pepper, because the red and the cayennes and all of these Tabasco peppers didn't originate in the Old World. They were brought actually back to the Old World from the New World when it was discovered. So when you think of all the little hot Chinese peppers, hey, forget about it. That came from here, went back over there. And when you think of Sichuan and all of these peppers, they're associated with the East, but they're definitely from the West. So very hot, very mild, very spicy, very tasty. There's a lot of things you want to know about peppers, and we're going to talk about them. So I'm going to move this out of the way, and we're going to cook a little bit with peppers. The first dish I want to do for you is one of my favorite soups. Absolutely great soup. And I want you to look again at the platter, because I have a nice array of peppers here. Here's roasted orange, red, and green bell pepper. These are roasted, and I'll talk about that in a minute. And of course, I'm going to flavor it with crab meat, the jumbo lump, and the claw, which I always tell you is the most flavorful. Here I have some taso, again, the Spanish word for cured or dried pork or beef, is a nice spicy ham that's going to go into the soup. And this is the roasted peppers chopped, and this is the coulis, the roasted peppers that's been ground. Now here you see a roasted pepper. It's all nice dark roasted right over the fire, and then I've wrapped it in a little clear wrap so that the steam would remove the skin. But I want you to come on over with me to the fire for a minute, because I have a pepper right here on the stove, and I want you to get a good shot of this pepper. This is how I roast it. You see the red pepper, and it's nice and black on the bottom. You see the juice coming out of it. It's just been on the fire for a couple of minutes. And what do I do with it after? Well, I put it in a bag or clear wrap, and I make sure that the steam removes all of that skin, and then we just bring it over to the sink and we wash it off, wash the skin right off. So I would come right under some running water, take the pepper out. Sometimes it's nice and hot. You want to be careful. And just go ahead. Look at this. Look how fast that skin comes off. Can you imagine that? And this pepper has a whole new taste. It has a roasted red pepper taste. And you can imagine how great these are. Put them in olive oil. Spice them with a little spicy pepper. These have very little heat units, Scoville units, 0 in fact. And you can see just how pretty that is. Can you imagine how simple it is to roast a pepper right on the fire? If you have an electric stove, put them in the oven, or even drop them in a little oil and fry them until the skin starts to blister, and do the same thing I just did. Very, very easy to do. Okay, now let's go ahead and make the soup. I'm going to throw in my black iron pot a little buttery flavored oil, because I'm going to actually make a blonde roux here, but I want to kind of get this oil cooking for a minute, get it nice and warm. And then I'm going to add into that onion, celery, bell pepper, garlic, all the typical things that we put in all of our soups. So I'm going to add a little of that. peppers, you know, they're so unique in Louisiana. There must be, I would imagine, probably about 15, 20 varieties. People are always growing in their yards just ornamental peppers as well as nice spicy peppers, bell peppers for cooking. I use them like this just for color in the pot. Not a lot of taste difference in all of these sweet colored peppers, but certainly they make a nice eye-appealing finish to the dish, and that's why I like to use so many of them. I'm going to saute that for just a second. I add a little garlic to it, put some garlic in there. And then, of course, once that's simmered for a second, then I can come in with some of my roasted peppers. Now, the roasted peppers I've already chopped, so I'm going to just throw them in here. They're going to give that great roasted pepper taste. I'm going to put my tasso ham right in, and then the claw crab meat, the most flavorful of all of the crab meats. I'm going to, look how pretty, talk about a fiesta, huh? Now you know why we use so many peppers here. Into this, naturally, I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit flour to make my roux. I'm going to sprinkle it right on in. This is a white roux, so I'm not concerned about darkening it or coloring it too much. I just want to pick up all of that excess oil in the bottom of the pot. Create a very nice roux. Look how it picks up all of that color. And once that's done, then I'll go ahead and add my stock. I'm going to go ahead and take my lid off of my stock pot, and I want you to look down in here because this is really an interesting stock. I have a crab stock here. You see the crab shells? Again, stocks are always better than water. You have carrots, onions, celery. And go ahead and put a couple ladles of this great crab stock. If you don't have stock, use water. It'll be just as good if you have enough crab meat in the pot. But if you don't, you definitely want to have a nice crab stock in your pot. So go ahead and stir this around, blend it in nicely. Look how hot that is. That's what I like about these putting hot stocks in the pot. You don't kill your cooking progress. It just continues to cook real nicely. And once you blend all of that in, of course, you can go ahead and add your pepper coulis, the roasted red peppers that we put in a blender and just chopped all up. And I'm going to put a good bit, about a cup of it in here. Not only will this give me a great color, but at the same time, it's going to give me a wonderful roasted pepper flavor. I'm going to add cream. This isn't one of those light soups, although you could make it light. I'm going to put a little bit of that in and stir that around. And of course, you can imagine that this is going to have a one. Look how pretty that pink color is right now. Really nice and pink. And then, of course, I'm going to add the crab meat, season it with a little salt, and what else? Pepper. Of course, a lot of pepper. I'm going to put this wonderful jumbo lump meat right down into it. Beautiful jumbo lump. I add a little bit more. I wish you could smell this fabulous, creamy, roasted flavor of the peppers. And then I'll add a little spice, a little of the chopped cayenne pepper. I'm going to put just a little bit chopped cayenne or Tabasco peppers right into it. This is just a ground dried pepper. And then a little salt. And then, of course, let your imagination run totally wild. Go ahead and put some basil, thyme, whatever you'd like. Okay, once that comes to a nice boil, of course, it's done. I want to show you exactly what it looks like when we go ahead and plate it up, because I have a really nice plate, an old plate right here. I want to plate a nice bowl of that soup up. And it is so pretty. I would let this cook, of course, for about another 15 minutes or so, but I want to give you a good example. Look how pretty that is. Good example of that soup. Look how nice that soup looks in a white bowl. I'm going to wipe this edge. And then, of course, to garnish it, use any of your green onions, or, of course, you can come in and put a little parsley. And then I'm going to put a little more of this red pepper coulis. Look at that, right across the top. Just kind of put it in. And it gives you that nice roasted look, but at the same time, it certainly gives you some flavor. Isn't that a beautiful dish? Roasted red pepper and crab soup. So that's my favorite of all of the soups. Certainly a wonderful, wonderful dish. And the crab stock I mentioned is, in my opinion, integral to any great seafood soup. Crab, shrimp, any of the stocks, just throw the shells in there with a little bit of onion, celery, bell pepper. Now, my next dish is another great spicy dish from the Pepper Festival. Great, great peppers. Take a look at this great Boston butt roast. I'm going to go ahead and take the Boston butt and put some little holes in it because I want to stuff it with all kind of great peppers. I also have onions and carrots and everything to saute it with, even some yams over here. But I want to make some little holes because this is called piquing the roast, and you definitely want to get all of these nice holes in there to put the seasoning in. Now, in this little bowl, I have a bowl right next to the roast here, and I have a lot of seasonings in it. I have some sliced jalapenos, I have some pepper, I have some red peppers, celery, I have thyme and basil, garlic, salt, all of these nice things. You want to mix them together to create a stuffing for this roast. And just go ahead, once it's well blended, go ahead and stick it down in the holes. Not so much pepper that you're going to actually do too much damage to the roast or to your mouth, just enough to flavor it nicely. I think you have the general idea here. Just put a lot in there. I love peppers. It gives this roast just a nice, nice flavor. And it's great for sandwiches after it's cooked. Now it's seasoned outside. A little more pepper. A little touch of salt. Put a little bit on there like that. And then, of course, I'm going to want to come in and saute this roast very quickly in my black iron pot with a little oil. Just a little bit oil, just to brown the bottom of it. And go ahead and put it down in there. You hear that great sizzle. I would just let this cook on each side until it gets nice and golden brown. Just a second. It doesn't take very long because I want to make sure that I just sear the roast on each side. And imagine that you would leave it in here about 10 minutes or so. And go ahead and turn it over. You just want to kind of sear it so the juices stay in, so to speak. Just kind of let it brown on each side. Do that a couple of times until the roast is really nice and seared. And then this is a Boston butt, so you can see how nice and tender it is already. Then I would put all of my other seasonings. My onions, my carrots, my shallots. I'm using Creole shallots. See the difference between the Creole, the little ones, and the big French shallots? I'm putting them in there. Yams, and of course a little bit more pepper. See that nice little spice? And then I would come on top of that with some stock. I would put a little beef stock or a little bit chicken stock, but I like beef. It's a lot nicer. Right into it like this. And then I would put a cover on top of this roast, and I would let this roast, what we call pot roast, in this old Dutch oven for about 3 hours or so. Just let it slow cook on a simmer until the roast becomes very, very nice and tender, and it's going to be spectacular. Let me show you what it looks like when we have it all plated up on that beautiful platter. Take a look at that. Isn't that a gorgeous piqued pork roast? It is just beautiful, and you can see the little peppers on top, and garnish it with the peppers. It's really, really wonderful. Well, let me show you a couple other things that I got from the Pepper Festival. First, of course, is this wonderful little plate. I call it armadillo eggs. Actually, it's just jalapeno peppers that's stuffed with crab meat, and then we go ahead and deep fry them. Can you imagine that? Armadillo eggs. Here we have a really nice dish. This is a ham salad, spicy ham salad with the little peppers in it, and then the roasted red pepper mosaic around the edge. This is a beautiful, beautiful buffet dish. And that's a couple of the things that I found at the festival, but now I have to tell you about my good buddy, Red Ortego. What a guy who knows a lot about peppers, and he always teaches me something about Savannah.
How are you?
Good, good. Well, oh, my God, another experiment.
You like peppers.
Oh, I love
I hate vinegar. This is 40 proof pepper sauce.
Oh, this
Tried
is
with my compliments.
This is what you would tell me you made with a little whiskey in here?
Exactly, because I don't like the flavor of vinegar, white vinegar.
Well, I tell you, let's why don't we try it right now? I have a couple little finger sandwiches I want to make, and we're going to put a little spice right down. In fact, as I'll start. Oh, boy. Oh, wow, is that good? I'm going to put a couple drops down there. Why don't you go ahead and, this is a bacon and roasted red pepper mixture that I'm going to do for finger sandwiches. And we've had this before, but I wanted to share this recipe with everybody else. We have onions, celery, Philadelphia cream cheese. We have boiled eggs in here. And then what I'm going to do is go ahead and put in some roasted red peppers. Just keep stirring that around. Blend that in, and again, nothing tastes like roasted red peppers. It's really, really nice. And then I'm going to put some bacon. The bacon has been fried nice and crispy, and boy, what a great flavor there. And go ahead and put that in, and of course I would season it with a little, I'm going to put a little more of your famous hot sauce that you like to give me there. And of course, I can put salt, pepper, and all of those wonderful things. And once it's all done, which is right there, I would go ahead and make some finger sandwiches with it. And I want to show everybody this platter of finger sandwiches. Take a look right there. We have finger sandwiches that's made with, of course, garlic croutons, and then, of course, bread, and even a French bread po' boy finger sandwich is made with the roasted red pepper. Sit down, Red, and let's chat a little bit about the Pepper Festival and about peppers in general. Why do you think Louisiana has such a fascination with peppers?
John, our history goes back so many years to so many different countries that the diversity of the people that we have in South Louisiana is unbelievable. And like you mentioned a while ago, it's not so much the heat that we're looking for, is the diversity of flavors.
We're looking for the
flavor, the taste.
Now, you know, we've talked so often, and you told me a long time ago that for someone who loves peppers so much now, grows so many peppers, at some point in time, you never enjoyed peppers. In fact, you stayed away from them.
I was married to what I call asbestos mouth for about 20 years before I finally developed a taste for peppers. I was originally from Evalds Parish, where the seasoning is entirely different than what we find in South Louisiana. And I had never developed a taste for it until I married.
Why your personal interest in peppers? Somewhere along the way, other than just marriage, you had to say, hey, I like these things.
Health reasons. Red peppers are healthy for you. They will not say cure a bunch of ills, but they do help you to regain or gain a lot of physical strength. And believe it or not, you can sprinkle, if your feet get cold, sprinkle red pepper in your socks and put your shoes on. It works.
I bet it does. But you know, we talk about flavor, and you're now talking about medicines. Pepper, really, they're finding out today, even though I think the Chinese have known it for a long time, that pepper does, in fact, have great medicinal purpose, right?
Yes, it does. Most herbalists really believe that the capsaicin in red pepper is very effective for stuff like hemorrhoids, surprisingly enough, and ulcers. You can stop a bleeding ulcer. It has been proven that they've stopped bleeding ulcers with red peppers.
Well, you know, I was looking at a show the other day on TV, and they were talking about how peppers have been used not only for flavor to help somebody medicinally, but also to hurt someone. A lot of the police units around the country now are carrying these guns that spray this very hot capsicum. What pepper is in there?
Well, actually, you could do the same thing with that one I just gave you. This is an alcohol-based extract of capsaicin from the red pepper extract, probably more concentrated than this is. And in your mucous membranes, it would be very irritating, to say the least.
Well, you know, you've been experimenting with peppers and flavors for so long, and you bring them to the restaurant every now and then and let me taste them. You created a really good paste that I call my swamp glaze that I love. I'm going to put on the pork rolls, in fact, in a minute. This great flavor that you gave me right here, but also this one. I want to look at this one right here, because this is actually an oil, a pepper-infused oil. And people can make this at home just by putting oil and peppers in a blender and cooking it at 190 for about, I don't know, 30 minutes and straining it. And this is great for putting in oil when you're sauteing or frying something. It's
I
really
would not
wonderful.
use this straight for cooking with, but a few drops of that in a skillet makes a world of difference in anything that you're frying.
Are you looking for any great discovery in peppers with all of the how many varieties you grow, by the way?
Since I started in 1981, I've grown between 150 and 200 different varieties that I've planted every year. And I select the best tasting of all of them every year to save the seeds.
Does it change from year to year, the peppers?
Yes, John, I didn't really start noticing a change until 1986. And from 86 onward, and I still have samples of each year since then, there is a distinct difference in the vintages
So
of
it's almost
every
like
year.
wine.
Almost like wine,
Well,
except hot wine.
well, I tell you, you just continue to experiment and play around with it, because every time you walk into the restaurant with a new little bottle like these, I know good and well it's gonna. What's your favorite pepper, if you had to pick one?
If I had to pick one, the ground pepper, because it takes so little to give you so much flavor.
But which one? Which particular variety?
The year, I'd have to go by year, because there is no specific variety per year. I'd say 91 is my favorite year.
because there's so much crossover with the peppers. Even in my
Exactly.
own garden, I find that if I put hot peppers next to bell peppers, sometimes they'll pick up the heat as well.
Only in the second generation.
Yeah.
That's if they will cross-pollinate, but you get a hot sweet pepper on the second generation, not the first.
Well,
I think is not really. A lot of people think just by planting them side by side you get hot sweet peppers. I don't think that's the real reason it happens.
Well, I'm going to have to figure out what's going. Maybe somebody's going out there and sprinkling it a little bit with hot sauce. Red,
Could be.
Thank you so much for coming by and visiting. And look, don't forget the route to the restaurant. Keep bringing those great sauces. Okay, they're wonderful.
You got it.
And thank all of you for coming by as we continue to search out fairs and festivals and cook up more great Taste of Louisiana. Let's eat some of these little.
Major funding for A Taste of Louisiana with John Folse and Company is made possible in part by Zatarain's authentic New Orleans-style dinner mixes. Zatarain's, a good way to jazz up dinner and a real New Orleans original since 1889.
This is PBS.
The companion cookbook to A Taste of Louisiana is available for $19.95. Chef John Folse's Louisiana Sampler features recipes and history behind Louisiana's fairs and festivals. The cookbook contains 130 recipes, including those from this show, and over 26 full-color photographs. To order, call 1-800-973-7246 or write to the address on your screen.